Okay, hello. This is going to be my totally improvised attempt at a tutorial for Trap Hideout as Milla. Pretty much what I'm going to be going through is just the things that I focus on when doing a run of the stage, some of my visual cues, and things like that. These are going to be all like top level strats, and like everything that I would do in a run. So like, yeah, I'm going to try my best to explain that. I've got the trainer open so I can work on specific sections and things like that. But this is all improvised, so hopefully it goes well. So starting off the stage here, you're immediately on a cycle. There are sort of two things you can do with this ladder. You can either jump off of it immediately by pressing the jump button, and that'll get you past that one laser. Or what I like to do, which I just find a little bit more consistent, is to hold down until you go right off the ladder. Hold down and right. And then also hold the shield key. And as soon as you pop off the bottom of the ladder, start holding up. And what that'll do is it'll block the laser. And that's just what I prefer doing. But you can do it either way, it doesn't really matter. I just find that one more consistent. So, yeah. Come by this laser. Whatever. Then when you're coming down here, you want to block this laser with a shield. Pretty easy. When you're running through those bombs, you want to hold B so that you charge up a cube. That'll let you run past the bombs without getting stopped. Okay, this part is actually interesting. This little gap here, if you start holding right too early, you can actually like pop back on the ground and not fall through the hole. Like this. So when you're running through here, you want to really commit and hold left for like a long time, so that you make it through the hole without like popping back up. Okay, now this spot, you're going to want to jump into the air and do a horizontal burst, but you want to wait a little bit, because if you do it too early, these red lasers are going to hit you. And that'll get you right into this hole pretty much every time. And now, after that, you want to hold left here. And this cycle here, with the laser that's coming up from the ground, this is kind of weird. Sometimes this laser can hit you for like no reason at all. I really don't know what causes it, but you kind of just have to accept it if it happens. So we're going to hold jump and left, and, well, not hold jump, you're going to get down here, and then as soon as you hit this platform, hit jump immediately. And then do a shield downward while still moving left. And that should get you past this laser. Sometimes, like I said, it'll hit you, and that causes issues. You might just have to reset over that if you're doing ILs, but whatever. It happens. Now you want to come down here and jump off that ladder as quickly as you can, but don't do it too quickly, because if, while you're in the animation of getting onto the ladder, it'll eat your jump input, and you won't actually jump off the ladder. So you kind of have to have a small delay before you press jump. And as soon as you jump off this ladder, start charging the cube, because we're going to burst to the right. Oop, that was bad. So like that, basically. And that's... well, that's the first part of the screen anyways. Let me just set up a checkpoint right here. Okay, so... actually, this cycle's perfect. This is exactly what it would look like. So, as you're running through here, it's going to look like these lasers might hit you, but you just have to like really commit and go for it. Because most of the time, like, you probably won't be going fast enough to bump into these lasers by accident. So, like, you should be fine if you're on a good cycle. These lasers will disappear right before you reach them. Okay, now, you want to run through this hallway a little bit. The cue that I use to start charging a block is the third pedal. So, like, we have pedal 1, 2, and 3, and I start charging at the third one. And then do a burst immediately after that. And that was this laser. If you have a cube, above you, this laser won't hit you. Like, you're fine. Right? So what you want to do as you're coming through there is have that cube ready, and just do a burst as soon as the laser passes over you. And that'll get you through that spot. Okay, now this part, it's really important here that you get a really good burst with a lot of speed. So you're going to jump onto that platform and do a burst right there, and it needs to have a lot of speed, so it'll get you through this section. And what you also need to do is sort of tap flutter kind of rhythmically so that you keep your height, but also don't really lose a lot of speed. And that'll get you through here. Okay, two things can happen here when you get past this spot. This final laser here, there's a chance that it'll hit you, like that. That's kind of preferred, because it means that you're on a good cycle, and it means that this laser coming up will not hit you. Well, yeah. So come through here, do this. Good burst with a lot of speed. You might get hit by this laser. Actually, I think the cycle that I'm on with the trainer is a little bit messed up right now. I'm gonna try setting this up like right here. No, this isn't good. So, the other thing that can happen is this laser doesn't hit you, and you make it through there. And what's going to happen then is you want to sort of slow yourself down a little bit. But before that, you want to charge up a cube and throw it at that guy, and that does a little bit of damage to this boss. Now, you kind of want to slow yourself down a little bit, because otherwise that laser that I just passed there will hit you. And you don't want that to happen. If it does happen, though, what you can do, so like that laser hits you, just do a diagonal burst right here, and then do another one right into this ceiling. And that's pretty much a good way of dealing with that, a nice backup strat. Come on. So the laser hits you, that's ideal. Now you don't have to slow down, right? You can make it past that laser and the cycle will be good. Okay, so now this part is actually a little bit tricky. What you want to do is tap left just a little bit on this platform to slow yourself down, just a tiny bit. Just like that. And what that'll allow you to do is get underneath this lip, this little lip in the ceiling there, without bumping into it. If you're going too fast, you'll actually hit that. So you want to slow yourself down a tiny bit. And now, right here, you want to tap jump just a tiny bit. Well, not like that. You'd pretty much want to flutter in the air. And what that would allow you to do is to get over this purple thing without landing on it. Without, like, landing on this corner. So yeah, that's about it. Now, when you're coming through this section, you just want to do a little burst to break these two blocks. And then you want to jump up here, do a super shield burst like right about here, and that'll allow you to just get all the way up here and right into this little like alcove. Now, as you're coming up, the way that I prefer to do this is to do one little burst downwards, which will break these first few blocks, and then do a horizontal one, which will break the next few, and that'll get you through there. Okay, and finally, this spot here at the end, what you want to do is run along here, jump, and when you're in the air here, right before you land on this second purple thing, you want to start charging a cube right now. And that'll let you, that'll line it up perfectly, so as soon as the cube appears, you'll be ready to shoot the laser at the boss. And so you do that twice, using Flutterblocking, and if you did the early hit by throwing the cube at him earlier on, then that should get you, that should kill him. It should only take that early hit and then 2 lasers. Like that. Okay. So right after the mid-boss dies, you need to be standing on this thing with a cube ready, because there's sort of a timing that you have to have for this. You want to jump off of that before it disappears, but you want to line it up so that you get through this purple wall here that I'm by right now before or after it turns into crystals, so you don't bump into it. So you want to have speed coming through that section, and that'll allow you to do a Fadeout Skip. That was bad. Here, let me try this again. I'm misfiring a lot right now. So you get hit by that. That means the cycle is good. So you come through here, get through there, and then jump, and then start charging a cube. And 2 lasers to finish off the mid-boss. I messed that up, but whatever. So you come through here with speed. These bats are being really annoying. It's hard to practice the stage with the bats right now. Whatever. So you come through here with speed, you can do a Fadeout Skip on this, and that's about it. So that's it for the first screen. Let me set up a checkpoint here. Actually, no. What I'm going to do is do one complete playthrough of the first screen just to show what a clean first screen would look like. So we're starting off here. Block that laser. Block this laser. Come through here. Hold left for a while so we don't mess up that. See, now what happened there was I jumped and tried to do the thing with the super shield burst too early. That's what happens there. You'll get hit. So you really want to wait before you do that. So you come through here. Just barely miss that. Don't get hit by that laser. Now you want a good burst here with lots of speed. Get hit by that laser. This cycle's good. And then wait on the cube a little bit. The reason for that is because if you're holding a cube, it turns your walking speed from 50 into 40. And that's, well, sorry, 5, not 4. If you were looking at the trainer speed display, it would say 50, but that's because it multiplies it by 10. So yeah, a really solid first screen time, you'd want to be fading out at like a high 38. That would be like a really, really optimal first screen. But 40 seconds is like perfectly fine, honestly. So then Fadeout Skip, and now we're here. So let me just set up a checkpoint on the second screen. The second screen is interesting because what you want to do right at the start is pause and restart. And now what's going on here is when you pause and restart, normally the game locks your inputs while the screen is fading in, like this black here. Normally your inputs would be locked and you wouldn't be able to move. But for some reason on this screen alone, your inputs are unlocked during that fade in. However, while that fade in is happening, the timer, the in-game timer, is not running. So what this means is you're able to move further into the stage without the in-game timer running. And that saves a little bit of in-game time at the cost of, I don't know, like 1 or 2 seconds of real time. But of course runs ranked with the in-game timer. So we want to do that. So you pause and restart here. And while the screen is fading in, you want to hold right and B, and eventually you're going to start hearing the block start to charge up. And once that's fully charged, then you want to do a super shield burst to the right and jump while you're doing it. So like that, basically. I can kind of show you what the screen would look like without the fade in first. So like pretty much you would just do this, and then you're going to want to jump and land right about here on this platform. So this is all about sound cues, right? You want to listen for when the block appears. And then you want to jump and land right there. And then right about here you're going to want to do another super shield burst and jump up here. And then you want to do a little flutter, and that'll allow you to reach this platform. Because normally the height that you get off a super shield burst just barely isn't enough for that. Like you'd fall down here. So you want to do a flutter. And come up here. And now, the jump through this thing is a little bit tricky. but I've got a good visual cue for it. So you want to start charging a cube as you land here, basically. And then you want to jump and do the super shield burst right about here where I'm standing. So the cue that I use, this thing in the background, this white and brown thing, I'm not sure what to call it, but so it's got these brown vertical stripes. Or I guess you could look at these like white pane things as well. I would do it right about here, which is like the second white pane from the right. And that should get you through every time. That's the visual cue I use for that spot there. And that's to avoid A, bonking on this, and B, bumping into this thing and losing all your speed like this. You don't want to do that. Or this, obviously, which, you know, that's bad. So you come right through here. And this is something that's kind of tricky. What you can do is charge up a cube and burst downwards and land on this barrel. Let me bring the barrel back here. So, like, you can just, like, run and land on it, and that's kind of fast, but, like, not super fast. But what you can do is, if you burst downward and, like, you have some horizontal speed when you land on the barrel, then you'll actually keep that horizontal speed, which is just, like, a little bit faster. So, yeah, ideally you want to land on top of the barrel with a burst. And then you just run and run. So, I also have kind of a weird visual cue for when to jump off the barrel, because you want to do that eventually. So, in the bottom left corner of the screen, there's this platform thing. Actually, you know what would be a good idea? I'm going to turn my mouse on. Let me just do that real quick. There. Okay, so this thing in the bottom left corner, I wait until it's just barely off the screen. So, like, right there. Once it disappears off the screen, that's when I jump. And that's just to keep the speed of the barrel for as long as possible without getting air drag from jumping off of it. So let's just play this whole screen back up to that point. Because there is actually just a small cycle on this screen that you have to watch out for. Okay, so this visual cue again. Wait until this thing disappears off the screen, and then jump. Okay, now running through this spot, you should have a decent amount of speed. But, of course, you want to turn around and go left because, you know, there's this spot here. So, I like to pretty much just turn around once I'm over this kind of sloped spot here. I like to stop holding right and switch to left. It depends on how much speed you have. If you're going slowly, then obviously you'll want to wait and do it a little bit later. But, I mean, really, that's just, you know, specific movement stuff. What you want to do is just get down here. Run along these bombs, and don't press B while you're on these bombs, because you'll pick one up, and that's not good. So, right about here, when you're underneath this slope, you want to jump. Just do a short jump. And then once you're in the air, start charging a cube. So, like, jump, and then start charging a cube. Once you reach this wall, and it stops all your speed, all your, like, leftward momentum, then you want to start holding right. And hopefully, when you land on the slope, you'll get, like, a tiny burst of speed, just because landing on slopes does that. So that should look like that. And finally, if you got that little burst of speed, this should work out nicely. You want to do a super shield burst jump right off of this. So, like, yeah. Right there. And it's important that you don't hold A while you're in the air. You want to let go of A and also B. You want to let go of both of those buttons. And the reason being is that if you're holding either A or B, you'll get extra height out of a jump, and you don't want that. You want to cut your jump short, basically. Because if your like jump is too high, then you'll bump into this thing here, and you don't want that to happen, because that'll kill your speed. Once you start falling and you're like down here, then you can start charging up another cube and everything will be good. So that'll also allow you to pass by this earth shield without bumping into it, which of course you don't want to do. So then you'll just do a super shield burst jump, like a diagonal one, right off the edge of this platform here. That was kind of bad because I started charging a little bit too late. Yeah. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up a checkpoint back here. So right about here. So this spot just has one little cycle that you have to watch out for. Generally, if your movement is pretty good throughout the screen, then you'll be fine. But it's this little spinning blade thing here. If you're a little bit slow coming through the screen, then it'll be right here. And when you do your super shield burst jump, you'll sort of take like a damage boost off of it, which isn't super slow, but again, ideally you don't want it to be there. Which, if your movement is good through the beginning of the screen, then it won't be, so you're fine. You'll be fine. So yeah, coming through here, you want to do a burst jump like that, and you want to hold flutter here. You want to, like, yeah, just hold jump. And that'll let you get right up here, and hopefully you'll land on that platform. There's a very slim chance that, like, the cycle here that I got is lined up just perfectly that you won't be able to land on it. But once again, if you know your movement is good throughout the screen, then that likely won't happen. So you'd want to flutter and land on top of this, start charging up a cube, and then just do a diagonal and get right up here. Okay, so this is sort of the second half of the screen. There's another restart that we're going to do here, because there's a checkpoint right here. So if we pause and restart and do the little timer freeze thing again, the visual cue I use for this, let me just kill this guy. It's this red thing in the background here. So this guy right here. If you're like over this, then you should be able to restart, and you'll hit the checkpoint. Well, the trainer's open, so that messed things up. That's what would happen if you had if you were on the wrong cycle and you had to take the damage boost. Once again, the trainer's being dumb. So actually, let me just do this from the beginning of the screen, so I can show you what the ideal cycles would look like. So again, we come up here, do a little flutter, and then remember the visual cue. I started charging the cube too late there, which messed me up. Burst onto this thing. I'm doing abysmally right now. Land on top of that barrel. Jump there. Whoop. So that's kind of what the cycle would look like if you were on a bad cycle. That as well. I want to get at least one good cycle, a good showing of this before I continue. Okay, so sometimes what'll happen is you'll bump into this and you'll fly up the left of it. And sometimes what'll happen is this thing will be up really high and you'll actually kind of go underneath it. And so what you want to do there is just flutter up and hold left a little bit and just land on top of it. You just have to react to that. That usually happens if you're going really fast through the screen. You'll go underneath of it. And if you have like a small movement mistake, then you'll bump into the left side of it and you'll just flutter up the left of it instead. So then, of course, start charging the cube and go here. And then, of course, the visual cue to pause and restart is this red thing. And that should get you here, ideally. Yeah, so that's what happens if you restart the right spot. So it's going to be kind of the same thing as at the beginning of the screen. You want to hold right and charge a cube, and you want to listen for when the cube finishes charging. Now, actually, the screen will pretty much be completely visible before you need to really react to anything. So this part is, well, I don't know. I don't want to say it's easier than the beginning of the screen, but it's the black screen fade in really shouldn't be an issue. So you want to run and just come right off the edge of this platform. Here, and start charging a cube. And then, so what I kind of like to look at here is this red flag. Once you're past it, you'll be on this slope. And here is where you want to do a diagonal burst. And that should get you right up here. So yeah, look at the red flag. If it doesn't look like you're going to make it, just do a little flutter. Like that. And you want to keep your speed through this spot. So start charging up another cube. Ideally you'd want to make it through there, but like sometimes you'll have to do a little flutter block to get up there. Do a second diagonal burst kind of in the air there. And ideally what was going to happen is you'll land on this platform here with a bunch of speed. You want speed for this. So you want to charge up a third cube, and you want to do your jump at like the very, very edge of this platform. And that'll get you here. If you do it a little bit early, sometimes you can bump into the ceiling, and that's okay, just like flutter up here. It's hard to do this while the floor is broken, so let me just do this. So we come through here, first jump here, do another one, and then a third one. And that'll get you right here. I'm going to set up a checkpoint right here. So what's going to happen is this floor is going to break, and there's a spot where you want to start holding right. It's right about here. See, this this like log thing here has two textures. There's this yellow part on top of it, and then there's this different texture here. You pretty much want to start holding right once you're at this different texture. So like right here, basically. And then shortly after you press right, then you want to start holding jump, and really hold jump. Like you really want to have a really good flutter here. That was a little bit too early. So kind of like that. So just like that, basically. So you want to get a decent flutter. Ideally what you want to have happen is land on these purple blocks here. As soon as you see that you're above them, and that you're going to land on them, then you can let go of jump and start charging up a cube. The reason I say let go of jump is because you can't charge a cube while fluttering normally. And really, trying to set up a flutter block here is just going to be slow. So, yeah. Hold right and jump. Once you're over them, start charging a cube. And then kind of like right in the middle of them, or like on top of the second one here, jump and do a horizontal. Yeah. Okay, so then you're going to be running here. Now, the cue I use for this jump, it's going to be a diagonal shield burst, is this flag right here. So pretty much when you're right underneath it, just do a jump and a diagonal. And that should get you through here with little to no problem. When you're under the flag, do that. And then when you're coming through here, you kind of want to tap flutter a couple times, because there's just this whole mess of like bombs and enemies and stuff like that, and you just want to fly over all of that. Okay, now what's going to happen here is you're going to hit these springs. You'll want to have another cube charged by the time you reach these springs. So pretty much when you're coming through here, just one or two taps should really be all you need to get through this. And then once you do that, start charging a cube, and you'll be running through here and reach these springs. So there are kind of two ways to do this section. One of them is a lot more difficult, and I kind of stopped doing it recently, but it is slightly faster. So I'll show you both ways. So here, let me set this up right here with good speed. Okay, so you're coming through here, and you're going to hit those springs. There are two things you can do. You can either shoot this block to the left, or to the right, and it's going to be down either way. So down left or down right. Down left is a bit easier. What you'll do is you'll just bump into this wall, and you want to keep holding B so that you get lots of height. And you start charging another cube. Now the cue I use for this is as soon as you bump into the ceiling, start holding right. So right here, start holding right as soon as you bump the ceiling, and then you're just going to want to jump and do a Fadeout Skip using the Super Shield Burst. So just like that. So go right, and then do a Fadeout Skip. As soon as you bump into the ceiling, start holding right. And that'll let you do that. Now, there's a really difficult way to do this, which is doing this and shooting the burst to the right instead. And what that will do is it'll make you not bump into this wall. So see, you'll get right over that lip. If you burst to the right, you'll bump into this wall, and that'll be a little bit slower. But if you burst to the right instead of to the left, then this will happen. You'll get through here and you won't bump into any of the terrain, and it's really smooth. But unfortunately, it makes doing the Fadeout Skip really tricky. Because you kind of have to slow yourself down in the air, and then do that Fadeout Skip. Now the thing is, if you slow yourself down too much, then you'll end up landing on the ground. And if you're on the ground and you try to do a Fadeout Skip, the game will, well, it won't push you away from the loading zone. You'll just keep moving into the loading zone, and the Fadeout Skip will just fail entirely. Like that. That's what would happen. So it's kind of risky doing this, but it is a decent bit faster. So like here, I have 2.32 on the timer, whereas with this strat I have 2.7. 2.3, 2.7. So it's a little bit faster, but it is tricky. So really it's just preference. If you practice that trick and you feel like you're comfortable with it, then, well, go for it, I guess. It is a little bit faster. But yeah, that is that screen. This screen, third screen, it's the longest screen in the stage. It's a full minute if you do everything right. So coming in here, what you could do, of course, is just hold right and B, and then hit this shield. What I like to do, though, is don't hold B right away, and instead start pressing B when you're like past this thing. Now what that does is, once again, if you're holding a block, your speed is locked to 4, sorry, instead of 5. So if you start holding this cube here at the very start of the screen, then you'll be going a little bit slower through here. And this is just a frame saver thing, like it really doesn't make that big of a difference. But if you start holding B here, you'll reach that shield just a little bit faster. See, like I have the cube here. I have to wait a little bit. Or you can just do it really quickly like that. It's only a matter of frames, honestly, and like it's not a huge deal, but that's just how I prefer doing it. Okay, so once you grab this shield, you're going to get up here and do a little flutter so that you reach this platform. And then, of course, as soon as you let go of A, you want to start holding B to get a cube ready. And this spring here, this is a little tricky. You want to do a burst down left, but then you want to start holding right. And the reason is this guy right here, this spike thing. So if you hold down left and you keep holding down left instead of pressing right, what'll happen is sometimes you'll bonk into the bottom of that platform. It doesn't happen all the time, but occasionally I've had it happen, and it's just kind of risky. So maybe it doesn't happen. Oh yeah, no. See, like that'll happen, and you'll lose your shield, and that's just really annoying. So you kind of just hold right a little bit, just so you get past this, and then once you see that you're in there and you're good to go, then you can start holding left again. Oops. So yeah, just hold right for a little bit, and then start holding left. Now, the movement through this section is a little bit tricky and kind of hard to explain, but it kind of plays off that idea that if you're holding jump or B in the air, then you'll get more height. And the thing is, you don't really want to get more height, because the end goal here is to be landing on these springs so that you can, push yourself up further. So, of course, you could just come through here. You can hold A and B and left and just do whatever, right? Like, you know, kind of sloppy movement, whatever. But just to shave off just a little bit more time, what you can do, and this is like optional, I'd say. You don't really have to do this, but you can let go of jump in the air and start falling a little bit faster. So I'm kind of letting go of jump there. Of course, you don't have to do this. It's just a matter of frames. Feel free to just do it however you're comfortable. But yeah, ideally that's what you want to do. And all three of those bursts should be down left. And that'll get you here. So then you just want to flutter up through this gap. It's not very difficult. And then once you land, start charging another cube and do this. And that'll get you up to the mid-boss. Now, the thing about this spot here is if you do a burst down left off of this spring, and you keep holding left, you'll actually make it through here, like, really nicely. So, once again, this spot, you let go of jump in the air if you want to start falling just a little bit quicker. Then here, just hold left the entire time, and you'll get up here. Once you get kind of close to this ceiling, though, you can switch to right. Reason being, if you do that, if you hold left the entire time, you'll bump into this here, and you don't really want that. But, like, hold left here, and then, like, when you're getting close to the top, start holding left, so you get into this mid-boss arena. Okay, now for the mid-boss. This is kind of iffy. So, like, you have this wood shield, right? And you want to keep this wood shield for a section later on in the stage. Now, there's a really good chance that this mid-boss is going to hit you, and actually, the strat that I use takes 2 hits on the wood shield, and saves 2 of the hits for the section later on in the stage. Oh, whoops, I still have the speed boost on. Turn that off. So, come up here, into the mid-boss arena, and this fight, like most fights as Milla, just abuses the crap out of flutter blocks, or infinite flight. So you start charging up this cube. Before this cube finishes charging, you want to jump. So kind of like this. Before the cube's even done charging, you want to be in the air and ready to go. So as soon as the cube finishes, you fire it off. That was a little bit suboptimal. But kind of like that, right? And then, of course, you want to be holding jump and B so that you do flutter blocks. And the best way that I can describe this fight is you want to be inside of him when you do the shield burst. So the thing that I see a lot of people do with Milla combat is they treat the laser like a projectile, right? You know, this laser, it shoots pretty far, it's got good range. The thing is, the best way to deal a lot of damage with the laser is to make sure that it's dealing as many ticks of damage as possible. Now, the thing about that is, the laser starts from where Milla is, and it slowly grows outward. So, like that, and it grows outward. That means that closer to her body is the laser, it exists for a longer period of time. And that means that you can do more ticks of damage with the laser closer to the body, right? So, when you're doing combat, you really want to be, like, kind of touching the enemy. So that you get in as many ticks as you possibly can with each shot. You want to be almost below them, actually. And the reason is that when you do a shot downward, it pushes you up a little bit, and that gets you into like the prime position for dealing lots of damage. So yeah, you want to be like below the enemy when you're doing these lasers. The way that you'd normally want to do this fight is with 5 lasers. Ideally, that's what would happen. I had one time, just on a whim, where I killed it in 4 shots, and that's really uncommon. It's so basically each shot can do up to 4 ticks. Each tick does 6 damage, I believe, so that's 24 damage total if you land all 4 ticks. But more commonly, you're going to have the laser do 3 ticks of damage. I won't bore your ears off with like technical jargon and whatever, but basically, if you have all 4 ticks land on all 4 shots, then you can kill it in 4 lasers. But that's really uncommon, and like don't expect it to really ever be a strat that you want to rely on, because it's not a common occurrence at all. So 5 bursts is the way to go. And one more thing, when you're doing this boss fight, he's gonna have a period where he's doing this attack, right? He shoots his like spikes out, like that. That attack is going to take a hit off of your shield. It's like absolutely going to. There's really no way to avoid that. But what you can do is avoid taking multiple hits on the shield. Like, you know, the attack could potentially take away your entire shield, all 4 hits. But you really don't want that to happen, because again, you want the shield for the later part of the stage. So what you do is, while you're fighting him, you kind of edge over to the side a little bit. Just a little bit. Just kind of come over to the side here. I think left or right side works either way. I prefer left, just because whatever. And, of course, you also want to be listening out for the sound effect of the shield being hit, and just pay attention to that. Generally what I like to have happen is take 2 hits on the shield during the fight. That was 3 there. That's okay. Like, you don't have to reset if you get 3 hits, right? But like 2 hits is kind of what you want. 2 hits on the shield and 5 lasers is what you optimally want to have for this boss fight. Anyways, I've spent too much time on this, so let me just do 1. And so while this boss is dying, you kind of want to stand right in the middle of the arena. And right before the boss dies, you want to do a burst to the up and right. So like, you get right out this hole right as these crystals appear and this wall disappears. Okay, so there's a weird cycle here. If you do this screen really, really well, what you want to do is burst up and left here, and the reason is, if you do that, then you won't land on this slope here at all. And now, that might seem counterintuitive because, like, oh, you're running down a slope, you get speed, right? But actually, no. The way that slopes work is if you have a lot of speed and you're running down them, then, I don't know, there's some math involved in this, you know, trigonometry, whatnot, but, like, if you're running down a slope, basically, your true horizontal speed isn't what it looks like. So it actually ends up being somewhere around, like, 8 or 8.5 or something like that, which is not good. So ideally you want to not touch this slope at all. And the way that you would do that is, again, by doing 1 here, and then a burst up and to the left. And that'll allow you to run through this section without landing on that slope. So, running through here, you want to charge up a cube, and as soon as you reach this spring, do a burst down left, like that. And hold jump while you're doing this. And that'll let you just kind of flutter up here. There are kind of a couple different ways that you can do this section. It all depends on this cycle. This one little platform here is surprisingly annoying. Its cycle starts as soon as you start the screen. So it all depends on like how good your spring part is at the beginning, and how good your mid-boss fight is and stuff like that. But mainly what you want to try to do is just flutter over this thing and get up to this platform. Now, while you want to land right here, start charging a cube, and then run up and jump and land on the second pile of like tires here. And you're going to do a burst jump off of that pile of tires. And that'll get you, hopefully, if you have good speed, you'll be able to get past this thing. I think if you just do it from a standstill, it doesn't work. Oh, it does, okay. Maybe? Yeah. I've seen it occasionally happen where you bump into this and you don't get any height, and that's kind of annoying. But what you can do is just kind of come up here and do this. But yeah, ideally, you land here, jump and start charging a cube, land on this, and then burst up here. Okay, this section is a little tricky, and this is the spot where the shield is necessary. So I'm going to set up a checkpoint right here. So you want to start moving right a little bit, and also start charging a cube, and then jump. And so you'll get, like, over these bombs. Right. Like that. And you're going to do your shield burst, like, right about here, right? Like when you're in the air. Kind of like right there. And what's going to happen is you're going to land on these bombs here. And you want to jump off of these bombs. Sometimes what'll happen is you'll like flutter by accident, but you don't want to do that. You want to land right on these bombs and then jump off of them and do like a really short jump. And that'll get you over here. And if you have good speed and you do like a good jump with a little bit of height, then what'll happen is you'll land right here on these spikes. And this is what the shield is useful for. So you land on these spikes. You're going to want to have another block charged by the time you get here. Ideally, that would look something like this. Oops. So a short jump, and then you land on those spikes. And if you have the cube charged as soon as you land there, then you're going to want to jump and do a diagonal burst down left, like that. And that'll get you a lot of speed through here. And ideally, it should look something like, not that, like this, and you'll get right through all of these spikes without like stopping or anything like that. You'll fall right through this hole, and then what you can do after that is kind of flutter a little bit and get down here. Sometimes you can make it without landing on the ground at all, but I mean it's not a huge deal. Kind of like that. And then once you get through here, start charging another cube, break those, fall through here, and then you're going to run off this ledge and do a horizontal burst as you come off the ledge. So kind of like that, but like not quite. So break those, do a burst as you come off this ledge. Okay, this is kind of like one of the hardest parts of the stage right here. Whoops. The whole second half after the mid-boss is pretty tricky. But, okay, you do a horizontal burst. You're going to bump into these springs, and once you're like over these purple blocks here, do a burst up left, and that should push you downward and to the right. Not like that, really. That, basically. And then once you land here, do a small shield burst to break these, and then run through here and do another small shield burst to break these. And that's really all there is to it. Now, once you do the second small shield burst, you want to start charging a cube. And now this section here seems to frustrate some people. This spring section here. So I kind of use some visual cues to line everything up for this. But basically, when you run through here, once again, you've got this white and brown textured like background. And the brown stripes act as a nice visual indicator. So looking at these purple blocks here, you've got one brown stripe and then a second brown stripe, and you want to do your jump and your diagonal burst right on the second brown stripe. Now, what happens if you do it too early is that you'll bump into the ceiling and you'll fall down here and it's just a mess. So yeah, don't want to do that. If you do it too late though, then what'll happen, like if you do it right here, you're going to bump into these two springs, right? And like that's going to happen. If you do it too late, then what's going to happen is you're going to bump into this wall. And you don't want that to happen because you actually get speed from this blue spring here. And that speed is useful for another strat coming up in a little bit. So, like, that was too late. Here, on that second brown line, that's the spot that you want to do that. So that should get you up past there without bumping into any walls or ceilings. And through here. While you're doing all this, of course, you want to start charging another cube. And ideally, it'll be prepared right about there. And what you can do is do a horizontal burst like this. And that's actually Appy's strat, so I didn't start using it until now. What I would do normally is run off this ledge and then do a horizontal burst. But actually what you can do is one in the air. Although what it looks like is happening is sometimes you can bump into this thing here. This brown thing. And you don't want that to happen. So the shield burst off the ledge is a slightly safer option. But this thing here actually looks kind of fast. So you do that. Or do this and do the horizontal burst off the ledge. Okay, now this is, I don't know, arguably the hardest part of the stage. Right here. So, as you're coming through here, as soon as you land on the ground, you want to do just like a little short hop, like a small jump. As soon as you land on the ground. So kind of like that. Well, a little bit later than that, maybe. And that'll get you up here. Now, if you have enough speed, which it's really important that you don't bump into this wall, you keep the speed from the blue spring, and also the speed of the Super Shield Burst together. And you're going to do a Super Shield Burst jump off of this little tiny slope here. And that'll get you a lot of height. Now, this is kind of a tricky jump. You want to do it just a little bit later than it looks like you should. So, like, if it feels like you're not getting enough height off of it, you have to do the jump just a tiny little bit later. And you also need a lot of speed here, because, of course, when you do a jump off of a slope, horizontal speed translates into vertical speed. And that should get you, like, all the way up here. You want to be holding right this entire time. And also B, so that you start charging up a cube. As soon as this cube is finished, you want to burst down the left, and then start Flutterblocking. Like that. Ideally what's going to happen is you're going to get through here without really touching any springs. Just this first section here. So you're going to do a flutter block, kind of like this, and then you're going to come up through here. And right here, you want to fall down and touch these orange springs right here. And that'll push you up. Now, you want to have another cube ready for this. As soon as you hit the ceiling, there's going to be more orange springs that'll push you down. And when you hit those orange springs, you want to then do a Super Shield Burst up and left. And that's going to push you down really hard, and also push you to the right with some good speed. So like that. So you jump up here, do a flutter block, hit these orange springs on the floor, and then these ones on the ceiling, and do a burst up and left. And that should kind of get you underneath this little lip here. You can bump into this wall just to like set yourself up for this. Bump into this wall and hold right, and that should ideally land you right on this slope every single time. And that's good because of course you land on the slope, you get lots of speed. But the thing is, you don't want too much speed here. So, because if you have too much speed, you're gonna run through here and do a diagonal burst off of this thing. Right? If you have too much speed, you'll actually end up bumping into this wall and losing all your speed. So, as you're coming through this section here, let me actually just set up a checkpoint right here. So, as you're coming through here, right, most likely if you hold right the whole time, then you're gonna bump into this wall and lose all your speed. So what you want to do is, as soon as you land on this, just tap left a little bit. Just a little. And that'll slow you down just enough so that you will still land on these black tires here, but you'll be going slow enough that you won't bump into this wall when you do your jump. So just tap left a little bit. That's all you need to do. And that'll get you through here. You want to do a burst jump, and then again, you're going to hold jump and kind of do some light little flutter taps. So just like that. Ideally, you'd want to like land here in this hole. But sometimes you might just bump into the ground here and then you just run into that and whatever. But like if you line things up nicely, you can just fall straight into the hole and it's, like, really fast. So yeah, you're gonna hit those springs, and that'll bring you all the way up here, and like this is the end of the stage right here. So you're gonna come up here, land on this like little ledge here, have another cube ready, and burst downwards and land on these things. And you want to just break this floor as quickly as you can and get down here to where these guys are. So I'm gonna run through this section again. Tap left a little bit just to slow yourself down. Hit these springs here, and then come here and break this floor. You can actually have another cube ready, and as soon as this floor breaks, you can push yourself down. And that's just a little bit faster because this boss fight doesn't start until you actually touch the floor. So you want to get to the floor as quickly as you can. So burst yourself downward there. So this section's pretty easy. You just want to have a cube ready. You want to come over here and kind of stand on this slope just a little bit. And then you want to hold up and right. Sit here and wait, and these ninjas will kill themselves. What I like to do is wait until there's about 7 left before I shoot off the shotgun. Sometimes there'll be like a straggler, and hit them with a small shield burst in order to finish it off. But yeah, you just stand right here, hold up and right, and wait until there's about 7 left. Or like 9 or something, I don't know. You can decide. It's a little bit faster if you do it earlier, but whatever. And yeah, that's the ninjas. That's really nothing to worry about. And finally, we have the boss fight with Spade. So, here, actually, let me set up a checkpoint right here. Just to finish this off. So come through here, land on the floor, do the ninjas. A funny thing actually that I realized is if you leave these health petals lying around, Spade can actually grab them, and it actually heals him. And you don't want that to happen because, of course, it would make the fight take longer. So you want to pick them all up for yourself, but then get over here as quickly as you can and pick up this gas can. As soon as the fight starts, he's going to come down, and you want to throw the gas can at him. That's going to do some damage. As soon as you throw the gas can, you want to start charging a cube. And you're going to do a diagonal burst down and to the right. Burst. And then do a burst down and to the right. So throw the gas can, and then do a burst down and to the right. You want to delay this just a tiny bit. If you do it too quickly, Spade will still be invincible from being hit from the gas can, because he actually has iframes and whatever. So you want to delay this shot just a little bit. But the rest of the fight, you just want to go as quickly as you possibly can. So as soon as this burst finishes, you want to start charging another cube. And then you're going to do a burst to the left. You're going to jump into the air a little bit. What he's going to do afterwards is going to run to the left and into this wall. Like that. And you want to jump up and burst to the left. Messed it up there because I was going too slow. All of this has to be done really quickly in order for like the manipulation. So Spade's movement is all manipulable, right? He's not random. His movements are always the exact same if your movement is always the exact same. So again, a horizontal burst to the left, right here, and this should hit him. And then finally, you're going to start another cube, and you're going to do a burst down and to the left. You're going to jump into the air and try to hit him with it. And that's it. That's the whole fight. So those are really easy. Grab all the health petals so that he can't grab them. And then gas can, and then down right, left. Sometimes that won't hit him. And you just kind of have to improvise after that, but I mean, it's not hard. Really, the idea is you just want to get him dead as quickly as you possibly can. So, yeah, just think fast. So, gas can, down left, down right. Oh, I got hit there. That's annoying. I didn't expect that to happen. Okay, so, ninjas. Practicing this fight is annoying, but It's not as annoying as for Carol, because for Carol you have to do 99 ninjas. So that's what a good spade would look like. Once again, gas can, down right, left, and then down left, and that's it. And yeah, that's the whole stage in a nutshell. In a nutshell, that was like an hour long. That's kind of a backup you can do if that that shot to the left misses him. Hopefully that won't happen, but no. Sometimes you have to react. Really, the whole idea with Spade is you just want to be as quick as you possibly can. Just never let up. Just keep firing lasers at him repeatedly. But yeah, that's about it. I think I'm going to try to do one full aisle of the stage, just to show off everything all in motion. Oops. So I have to slow down here a little bit to make this cycle work. Fadeout Skip. Remember this visual cue here, the second thing from the right, these white tiles here. Actually took no hits on the shield there, which is really lucky. Sometimes that'll happen. Spike second. Remember the visual cue for this spot, so that you don't hit this wall. Hold left a little bit to slow yourself down. And that's Trap Hideout. Hopefully this helps for anyone who's interested in learning the stage. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. I might try to do more of these tutorials in the future, if I get around to it. But I don't think this went too badly, so definitely in the future, look out for more of these. See you later. Thanks for watching.